Friends. Normally you don't see me during science and social studies times, but now you are. So let's get started. Remember yesterday we talked, or I'm sorry, we didn't talk about it, but you and Miss Nicholson read a story about Cinderella and with the red slippers. And today I'm going to read a story to you called Billy Beg. Okay, so I'm going to share along with you in my screen so you can see everything here. Here's our lesson 3. It's called Billy Beg, today's story. So let's, why can't I move my, there we go. All right, sorry guys. Let's go over our vocabulary real quick. These are words that you might not know, but they're going to be in our story. So concerned, concerned is our first word. It means worried. Joanna was concerned that the school trip might be canceled because of the rain. Concerned. Next one we have is demanded. Demanded. Said or asked for in a very forceful way. The principal demanded that all the students sit down for the assembly. Monstrous. Very frightful or large. In her dream, Jasmine battled against a monstrous dragon. And plot. The events of a story. The plot of a story is what happens in the beginning, middle, and end of the story. So now that we know our vocabulary words, we're ready to start our lesson. So where are we today? Where is this story taking place? Well, this story actually originates in a place called Ireland. Okay, and it happened many, many, many years ago. And if you look right here, this little red circle, that is where Ireland is located. Now, it's very close to where you guys talked about, was it Scotland that you all were talking about in phonics?
Yes.
A while back, you all were talking about Scotland in phonics. So it's not far from where Ireland is, okay? So let's get started with our story. All right. Once upon a time, there was an Irish prince whose name was Billy Beg. Though born the son of a king, Billy didn't live the usual life of a prince. Billy worked in the fields herding cattle every day from sunup until sundown. So Billy worked very hard all day long. Billy spent so much time with the cattle that his best friend was the oldest bull in the herd, one with a speckled hide and a white face. The word in this part of the story where we're talking about the word face, it means the front part of the head that has the eyes and the nose and the mouth on it. But the word face also has other meanings. It can also mean the front or another surface of, try that again, or outer surface of something, okay? But in this case, we're talking about an animal's face. Billy was very fond of the bull, and the bull was just as fond of him. One day, the old bull was sent to the market in town to be sold. Could you make a face and show me how you think Billy might feel that his best friend is getting sold? Do you think he might be sad? I would be sad. When Billy heard this, he was very sad. But the bull said, "Don't worry, Billy, my boy. You will be all right without me. In the grove behind the barn, there are 3 gifts for you: a magic tablecloth, a stick, and a belt made from the hide of my grandfather. If you unfold the tablecloth, you will never be hungry. If you wave the stick 3 times around your head, you will have the strength of 1,000 men. And if you wrap the belt around your waist, no enemy will be able to defeat you." With that, the bull left bravely for the market. At first, Billy Beg was too upset to do anything without his friend. He cried 3 days and 3 nights. Then Billy remembered what the bull had said. When the sun rose the next morning, he went to the grove behind the barn and pulled out the tablecloth from beneath the tree. When he unfolded it, he found it was covered with delicious food and drink. Billy ate until his stomach was full. Next, he grabbed the stick and the belt and the bull had left for him. Then he set off to make his way in the world. Billy set off to find a new job and a new place to live. Let's see what happens next. He walked on until he came to find an old house. He knocked and an old gentleman came to the door. "Excuse me," said Billy, "I was wondering if you have any work." "As a matter of fact," said the old gentleman, "I need someone to watch over my cows, pigs, donkeys, and goats. But—" "I'm the best shepherd that you will ever see," Billy interrupted. "Well," said the old gentleman, "that may be, but a giant has moved into the forest next to my pasture. The beast has scared off the last 3 boys I hired." "I'm not afraid of him," said Billy. "If you will have me, I will take the job." So the old gentleman hired Billy to watch cows, pigs, donkeys, and goats. The next day, Billy led the animals out to pasture and sat down on a rock. Later that day, a horrible one-eyed giant suddenly appeared from the rocks. "Oh," said the giant, licking his lips, "here's a tasty little treat. You are too big for 1 bite, but not big enough for 2. What should I do with a tiny morsel," it's a small bite, "like you?" Billy fastened on his belt and grabbed his stick. He swung the stick above his head 3 times to give himself the strength of 1,000 men. It was a terrible fight, but finally Billy swung the stick and thwack! Sent the monstrous giant flying off the cliff and into the sea. He defeated the frightfully large giant. When the old gentleman heard that Billy had driven away the giant, he patted him on the back and told him, "You're a fine boy. I'll double your wages." So Billy became a herdsman. He kept watch over the old gentleman's animals and served him well. Then one day, the old gentleman came out of the house and yelled to his coachman, "Get the carriage! Saddle up the horses! I'm going to town!" "What is the occasion?" said Billy. "Haven't you heard?" the old gentleman asked. Billy shook his head. "A terrible dragon is in the village," explained the old gentleman. "The dragon has demanded the king's own daughter, the princess, as his prisoner." Ooh, so the dragon was forceful. He wants that princess. "Unless the king's champion fighter can defeat the dragon, the poor girl is as good as gone." "Oh," said Billy, concerned. He's worried. "That poor princess." The old gentleman got into his carriage and sped off to the city. Lots of other people came on horseback, in carriages, and wheelbarrows. Billy decided that he would go and fight the terrible dragon if he had to. Now, what characters have we met so far? We've met Billy. We've met the old gentleman he works for. We met his really good friend, the little cow. But that's about it so far. So, what gifts does Billy receive from his bull? He received that tablecloth, the stick, and the belt. You're right. All right, so how does Billy use these gifts to defeat the giant? Remember that stick gave him the strength of 1,000 men? He put that belt on too, didn't he? All right, so what does Billy decide to do when he hears about the terrible dragon? He decided he would go and fight the terrible dragon if he absolutely had to. So let's keep reading and see what happens. Billy dressed himself in an old suit of armor that belonged to his master and then buckled his special belt securely around his middle. When he was dressed, Billy slipped on his boots, grabbed his magic stick, went to the stable where he mounted the brown mare and rode bravely into town. Thousands of people had come to see the king's champion face the dragon. Billy saw the champion in the center of the crowd, pacing up and down, back and forth, dragging his heavy sword behind him. Next, he caught a glimpse of the princess, gathered with her maidens at the front of the crowd. She was certainly beautiful, but looking just a little bit nervous. Just then, there was a fearsome roar. The dragon rose up out of the sea. He had fiery eyes with smoke billowing out of his nostrils and giant flames pouring out of his mouth. The king's champion turned white with fear. He dropped his sword and ran away. When the princess saw that the champion had fled, she began wringing her hands and crying. Now, wringing your hands means that you're kind of just like, it's kind of like you're nervous, okay? All right. Oh, please, she called out, won't someone save me? At first, no one made a sound. Billy Beg stepped out of the crowd. He wore his borrowed suit of armor. The helmet and visor were just big enough to completely cover his face, so nobody knew who he was, not even the old gentleman. I will fight the dragon, Billy said. Can't get it to move. Hold on, guys. Oh no, why won't it move? Hold on. I lost my mouse. Hold on, guys. I'm sorry. Oops, wrong way. Oh goodness. Well, we have a problem. Let's try this. There we go. What is going on here? I'm so sorry, guys. Give me just a second. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here. There we go. All right. We were there. Now let's see here. All right, so we be right here. Now we're good to go. I'm so sorry, guys. The princess and all the people stared with wide eyes. The dragon charged at Billy, shooting fire from his mouth. Billy dodged the flames. Then he swung 3 times around his head. It was a terrible fight, but in the end, Billy Beg defeated the dragon. There was great shouting and applause. The princess ran up to thank the mysterious knight, but Billy Beg mounted his horse to ride away. The princess reached out to stop him, but his horse galloped away. She could only grab a hold of one of his boots, which slipped right off his foot. What does this remind you of? Does it remind you anything about Cinderella or maybe the girl with the red slipper? Didn't Cinderella lose her shoe at the ball? And now Billy Beg's lost his boot from the night, or the armor. Oh, I wonder what's going to happen next. Billy Beg rode back to the old gentleman's farm. He took off the suit of armor, put the mare back in the stable, and tossed his other boot into the haystack in the barn. When his master came back the next day, he told Billy everything that had happened. "Isn't that amazing?" said the old gentleman. "I should say so," said Billy. The next day, the king ordered his men to find the brave knight who had saved his daughter's life. The king's men went from house to house, trying to find the man who fit the boot the princess was left holding. It took several weeks for them to make their way out of the old gentleman's farm. Let's see if I can get it to move again. Well, here we go. I'm sorry, guys. Give me just a second. You've got to be kidding me right now. I am so sorry, guys. Let's try this again. All right, now this is where we're at. All right, he had just defeated the dragon. He's mysterious, but he knows who he is. The princess gets his boot when she grabs him, and now they're trying to find him. So here we go. All right, the king's men had all the servants try on the boot. The coachman stuffed his big foot into the boot, scrunching up his toes to make it fit, and the cook put on his heaviest wool socks to try to fill the boot. No one thought much of Billy Beg, but when he slipped his foot into the boot, they all saw that it fit him as well as his own skin. "What is this?" asked one of the men. "Is this your boot?" "It is," said Billy. "I have the other one just like it out in the barn." Then the men knew that Billy was the one who had slayed the dragon. So he was the mystery man. They identified him as the person who saved the princess because the boot fit him perfectly. They put a velvet suit on him and hung a gold chain around his neck. Then they took him to the village where he married the princess and became the prince of the palace. All right, so what does this remind you of? It reminded me a whole lot of Cinderella. So he loses the boot just like Cinderella lost his slipper. And they go around looking for the owner of the boot because nobody knew who it was. Just like in Cinderella, nobody knew who lost the slipper, so they sent all those men for it. When they finally found that Billy Beg fit the boot, he got to marry the princess. Just like in Cinderella, when they found out that she fit her slipper, she got to marry the prince. So let me ask you, what happens to Billy's friend, the bull with the white face? What happened to him? You said that he was taken away. He was sent to market in the town, right? Who does the bull kind of remind you of in comparison to Cinderella? I think he kind of reminds me of the mother in Cinderella because he left Billy some things that he could use. He left him the tablecloth so he'd never be hungry. He left him the belt. He left him the magic stick. All right, so that leads me to the next question. What gifts does Billy receive from the bull? He received that tablecloth, he received the stick, and he received the belt. Good. All right, now let's see. How does Billy defeat the one-eyed giant? That's right, he used that stick that gives him the strength of 1,000 men. Good. Now, how would you describe Billy? I think that Billy is brave. He's courageous and kind because he helps other people. He defeated the giant and the dragon, but he didn't tell anybody that it was him that slayed the dragon. So he was kind of very quiet and to himself. So what you're going to do, here's your job for today. In Google Classroom, you have a document that has 4 questions on it with this story, okay? If you don't remember, sorry guys.
Boys and Girls Club can be dismissed. Boys and Girls Club can be dismissed.
If you don't remember the answer to the questions, you can always go back and re-listen to the story to help you answer, okay? So go do your questions and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.